This conference will now be recorded.
Very good morning, good evening. My name is Kranti. Can you please confirm if you're able to hear me and able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the confirmation. So, good morning, good evening, all. I really thank you and appreciate your time on your busy weekend Sunday to attend the demo session on DevOps with AWS in the early morning or early evening. Thank you all. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, let me quickly introduce about myself. So my name is Kranti. I do carry 14 plus years of experience in the IT industry, and I'm one of the technical manager working in an MNC in Hyderabad. So out of 14 years of experience, I was completely into cloud computing or DevOps in 6 plus years now. I'm one of the lead corporate trainer and trained almost 36,000 people so far, and the count is still going on. So being a project manager, yes, I do take multiple interviews on multiple technologies, probably for my projects, for any of the other projects that we have for our company, right? So, so you might have a question as to, okay, we have a lot of institutes in the market now. I mean, people are even training online, right, using the remote tools like Zoom or GoToMeeting, Cisco WebEx, or Microsoft Teams, right? I believe people might be already having a question that why only career IT online trainings? Why not any other institute in the market, especially for AWS DevOps? Correct. Why? Because we are unique in the market. Why? Because the kind of content that we have, the kind of pattern that we go and give the training, right, is completely different. So I'll quickly tell you an example before I move forward, right? So that you can able to correlate probably if you have attended any other demo sessions or take up any other trainings from any other institutes, right? So we have a course content, right, for AWS DevOps. I'll be going with at the end of the session anyways. So let's say once the demo session is done today, probably we are gonna start the classes soon, right? So on the day one, yes, we'll be picking up a very basic topic from the content, and we'll be talking from the theory perspective first, right? And I will be coming up with a day-to-day example to help you understand how the cloud terminology, why? Because cloud computing and AWS DevOps is pretty much new for everybody, right? So you might not have heard about certain terminologies so far, right? So I'm a person who has the biggest capability of training a layman as well, who doesn't know anything about IT nor an IT company or technology, right? So even a fresher can go ahead and attend this training. Why? Because there is no prerequisite that is required as such, right? So we have a lot of openings. So we'll talk about the career path, the openings that we have in the market, right? And why we have to go ahead and choose AWS DevOps only when you compare with Azure or GCP. We'll talk about a lot. But on a given day, we'll talk about the theory, and I'll be bringing you a day-to-day example to help you guys understand how exactly you can correlate the theory from official cloud computing concepts or from AWS perspective, right? So once we are done with the day-to-day example, once you correlate, right, you'll be able to interconnect. Then I'll be bringing up a situation, a use case scenario from the real time, right? We will bring in a client or customer, and probably what if they give the requirements to us? Being a AWS DevOps engineer, what are the roles and responsibilities? How we have to understand the requirement, right? Whom we have to go ahead and involve uh, in the meetings or in gathering and understanding the requirements and going and implementing it. A lot of things that we will be talking from the real time, right? So ultimately, what is important for us is we get the requirement from the customer, we understand them, we suggest or we recommend, and we'll implement the solution in real time. So the ultimate goal is to add value to the customer, right? So from all of these perspectives, our training is gonna be. So while we were talking about the theory, the day-to-day example, a customer scenario, and we'll also cover the interview questions on the same day for the respective topic. Why? Because you all might have the same intent. You are all have joined today. Sorry, those who are not speaking it, I've requested you to go on mute. Durga Prasad. Okay, let me mute this. Yeah, there's one small request. If you are not having or not speaking it up, I request you to go on mute so that we can have the session pleasantly. So once we are done with the real time, we'll be talking about interview questions as well as to what kind of questions that will be asked from the theory, from the practical, or from real time. Why? Because you all have joined to this demo session with one intent. What is the intent? So if you like the demo session, probably you will be going and enrolling with us, right? So we have the course duration, let's say 45 days or 50 days course duration that we have. What we do, we will teach everything and we'll talk about interview questions. And your ultimate goal is to enroll for the course, to complete the course in the respective course duration, and you have to crack the interview to get a job as a DevOps engineer, correct, in a company. So your struggle is to crack an interview, right? So our course will be purely based on the real-time situations and the cracking interview perspective itself. And we'll talk about a lot, right? Once the interview questions are done, we'll be providing a lot of interview tips and tricks. Why? Because in this particular meeting, we might have experienced IT professionals, we might have freshers, we might have people from non-technical background as well, right? So it is important for me to go ahead and do or give certain tips and tricks from the interview perspective to see how we can go ahead and clear the interview, what kind of smartness that we have to bringing into picture, how we have to understand the panel, the interview technical panel, and how we can go ahead and choose certain companies or certain job descriptions based on whatever the course that we are taking it up. A lot of things that will be covered out for, as part of tips and tricks of the interview. Then we'll conduct three mock interviews, folks. So one is at the second week of the course, one is at the middle of the course, and one is once we about to complete the course. Why mock interviews? Why? Because I'm here at Career IT, just not log in for the day and do a topic and say goodbye for the day, guys. So I'm here to gauge your performance. So whosoever is gonna enroll for this course, probably you guys might be starting at zero level, correct? There is a saying zero to hero, correct? So, I mean, we are not aiming to become hero overnight in a new technology altogether. But since you guys are starting at zero, my aim is to bring you guys at least to an intermediate level in AWS DevOps. So while you're starting at zero, while we are progressing on day-to-day basis, I'll be covering a lot of things. So it is very much important for me to ask questions on daily basis. So the initial 5 to 10 minutes will be spending on doing a quick recap as to what we have discussed yesterday, and I'll be asking about a lot of questions as what I have discussed with the topic. Then you will be understanding, okay, this is how I might get an interview question in real time interview, right? So you can go ahead and answer. So at the same time, I will be gauging and analyzing each and everybody who is gonna enroll for this course. Why? Because I'll pay personal interest in gauging each and everybody individual. Why? Because you are starting at zero. So on daily basis, how you guys are progressing, whether everybody is opening up and speaking proactively, whether everybody is asking questions, whether everybody is answering to my questions. So if they're answering, whether the answers are absolutely correct or whether they're lagging somewhere, what kind of improvement areas that I can go ahead and suggest to individuals, what kind of recommendations that I can go, whether you are speaking with absolute confidence in your communication, or you have any grammatical mistakes or any pronunciation issues, or people might be introvert, right? People might always be, I mean, not always, but few people might be reserved. They might not be able to speak up with in the open forum. But interview is all about what you have to speak up a lot, right? So you can think me as an interview panel, and you can make utilize of me to make sure that you are freeing up yourself and you would be getting a lot of confidence while attending the real time interview. So a lot of things that we will be doing in mock interviews and daily basis. So it's all about you have to utilize me to the most to get the most out of me, right? And I'll be gauging each and everybody, and I will be providing feedback and like in I mean improvement areas for yourself. Then I'll be helping you in interview, I mean the resume preparation as well at the end of the course. Why? Because we have freshers, we have experienced people, we have non-technical people. So resume preparation plays a very prominent role. Why? Because based on your resume only, you might get calls, right? So it is important as to how you would be basically going and preparing your resume. So since you guys might have taken decision to move to cloud computing, that to Amazon Web Services, DevOps, so I'll be providing you the guidance, right, as to how is your career is gonna be for the next 10 to 15 years in IT, especially in cloud, right? So on top of that, I'll be teaching corporate etiquettes as well. So why corporate etiquettes in AWS DevOps training? Why? Because I don't just teach technology, guys. I don't talk about technical terms here. I talk about sustainability. So once you complete the course, it's all about struggling to get a job by cracking the interview. But once you crack the interview, I mean, anybody can crack an interview probably. Why? Because it all depends on interviewer mood, the kind of requirements that they have, right? So you can get a job. But once you get a job, how you sustain on daily basis matters, correct? How you sustain. Why? Because I'll cover real time scenarios, right? I'll be preparing yourself. Once you get a job, you would be knowing everything: who is a team member, who is a project manager, who is a client, who is a lead DevOps engineering lead, who is a scrum master, who is an AWS admin team, ITIL team, or your release and deployment team, right? How we get requirements from the customer, or how we get projects to a company, what are the things that should make sure that is going in a good direction, how you should come up with initiatives, how you should be unique in a team, right? Why? Because if you do all of these things, these will help for your appraisal, right? So you might get a good rating, good hike, probably you might get promotions, progressions, rewards, recognition, lot of things. On top of this, how you have to say no to your customer in some scenarios, right? How you should be unique and how you can come up with initiatives. Everything would be basically taught in corporate etiquettes. So you go to any institute, probably corporate etiquettes is not part of the course, but we will be teaching that as well. Along with the technical things, how things happen in a company, in a project, I'll be talking about. So that you should not have to worry about the sustainability once you join a company, right? So apart from this, I'm very good at multi-cloud. AWS, Azure, GCP, Alibaba Cloud plus DevOps, and other tech, I mean, operating systems or technologies as well, like Windows, Linux, PowerShell, networking. All right, then you have Power BI, your Power Platform, a lot of other things, storage. Right, I'm very good at. And from database, SQL Server, and from business intelligence, Power BI, and I'm very good at PowerShell scripting. And being a project manager, my day-to-day activities would be uh, taking care of people, attrition management, project, client management, right, stakeholder management, lot of things. And I'm very good at onboarding new projects and offboarding the projects that are in the verge of completion. So I've been into abroad multiple times where I have offshored a lot of projects from onshore, and I've been successfully delivering it offshore here. And you can see the kind of certifications that I've done, right? So on top of that, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. So I've been certified from Microsoft that I'm an official trainer. So the kind of training, the pattern that I go with, the kind of material that I share, the kind of real-time scenarios that I show it to you guys are completely different compared to anybody else in the market. So this is all about myself, guys. I believe with all of these, I'm super duper experienced individual who is having all the eligibility to go ahead and teach you guys AWS DevOps. Any questions that you guys have at this moment before we move on to the demo?
No,
Any questions from anybody else? Okay, I'll take it
Hello.
as a no. Yeah,
Hello, good morning. This is Karthik.
yeah, Karthik.
I am from non-technical background. I studied mechanical engineering in my BTech.
Hmm.
Yeah, how it is helpful for me to DevOps to become a career choice?
I think yes, you are in the right position at this moment. I can say by choosing the right technology, which was booming in the market. So, being a fresher, being from a mechanical background, yes, you might have an aspiration while we were in your intermediate that I might need to become a mechanical engineer. But while you complete the bachelor's in mechanical, you might have changed mindset due to less opportunities in mechanical. Probably you might have to travel to some other state to get a mechanical engineer job in any of the manufacturing or basically car manufacturing industries, if I have to say correct. Now
Yeah,
you might
yeah,
have changed the mindset and you might have inquired in the market and you might have got to know that DevOps is doing pretty much good. So being a fresher, I believe it is the right choice to go and learn, correct?
yeah. I,
Yeah.
I
So
thought
you
that
should not
like
have
that.
to.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that I'm from not non-coding background now. So how can I learn this
Coding
all
is
these
not
things?
required. Coding is not
Okay,
at all required for DevOps. Probably there are
okay.
certain things that are required, but I'm here to teach you from the scratch, so you should not have to worry about it. So I already told you I have a biggest capability of teaching a layman who doesn't know anything about IT nor a technology. So
Yeah,
you can blindly go with. So I'll talk about in the course content. Probably you'll be able to understand.
okay, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So let's move on. So before I move on to the DevOps concept, DevOps is an advanced methodology, correct, which is being currently used in the industries. But let me talk about the software development process, right? So before I move on to DevOps, let's first understand what is a software, how we can go ahead and develop it, what is the process it involves, right? Let's talk from a day-to-day life, right? So first of all, I'll go with a day-to-day example, guys, so that you will be able to understand. Then I'll talk into a real-time example, right? So any volunteer who wanted to have a quick chat with me on a regular, I mean, it's a common chat that we can have. Any volunteer who wanted to talk with me now?
Yeah, I'm here to talk with you.
You're Karthik.
Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, Karthik. Thank you. Really appreciate your volunteer. So Karthik, did you ever prepared a plain white rice for your lunch or for your dinner?
Yeah, I had prepared.
Right. May I know the process of preparing the plain rice?
The plain rice means just we have to clean our rice before, and we have to soak for 10 minutes like that, and we have to cook it keep it on the stove, and we have to give that 1 cup of rice means we have to give 2 cups of water like that, and we have to put on the stove,
Hmm.
and it will be fine.
Hmm. So only one way of going and preparing the rice, or any other ways?
There is another way also there where we can add some more water as much as we have,
Mhm.
and other
Mhm.
we can remove that what you will call the white liquid from that
Starch.
rice starch, yeah,
Starch.
starch, and we can cook
Uh,
it after it coming like boiling like that.
Good. You brought a very good point in my entire demo sessions. You
Yeah,
might be in I mean, probably looking from an healthier life perspective, right? So we generally, if you take a brand new rice, right, the new crop rice, you
yeah,
basically go and have the starch also along with the rice, right? That's a good
yeah,
idea. But if I have to talk, yes, if I have to tell you, let's say our grandparents, if you take, they might have cooked rice on the wood, correct?
yeah, yeah,
On the wood fire or from the coal, correct? Then we
yeah,
have
from the
gas that has been come into picture. Then we have rice cookers now that has been come into picture, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right? So let's talk about two ways where we can go ahead and prepare rice. One is through the manual method that you just spoke about. Let's say I wanted to prepare rice for myself. I take a cup of raw rice and I'll
Okay.
clean or wash it carefully, couple of times probably. Then I'll
Yeah.
add 2 cups of water. Why? Because yeah, if you go with one quantity of rice, you add 2 cups of raw water. That's how you can make a perfect fine grained rice. Correct. So if I have
Correct.
time, I'll soak it for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Then I'll put the bowl on top of gas stove and I'll lighten the gas stove and I'll put it in high flame for let's say 3 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Three to
So
five
that it
minutes.
will 3 minutes probably. Why? Because I have taken very less quantity of rice, right?
Okay.
So if I put for 5 minutes, what might gonna happen is that overboil, the water might come out. Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
So 3 minutes, I'll put it in high flame. Then once it comes to the boil, I'll put it in medium flame for let's say 5 more minutes. Then
Yeah.
I'll put down to lower flame for let's say 3 minutes or 4 minutes until the water, all water gets, I cannot say
Dried.
evaporated. I mean, it should absorb by the rice.
Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
that
It's
is done, what I can do, I can switch off the gas stove, which means perfect rice has been cooked.
cooked.
With manual method, what is happening? Your presence is needed at the gas stove, right? Frequent basis.
Yeah.
If let's say I put the bowl and if I enlighten the gas stove and I put it at high flame and I'm going and watching my TV, what happens?
What happens that overboiled water will come
It
out
will all
and the
boil
rice
and
will.
it will burn. The rice will be
Yeah.
burnt, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
So with gas stove or with wood, whenever you're trying to prepare rice,
Yeah.
manual presence is needed. Physical presence of a human being is needed to monitor the rice so that it cooks perfectly. This is one
Yeah.
way of preparing rice. So I have different
Yeah.
steps.
Correct.
Let's go with other method. Other method is also, let's say you take 1 cup of raw rice, you clean it, you put 2 cups of water and you soak it for 10 minutes, then you put the bowl in the rice cooker. And what you do, you put the lid and you switch on the rice cooker, and automatically the rice would be cooked. There is no human intervention, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
So this is an automated way. So what I wanted to talk about is the automated way of preparation of rice is like DevOps process, which is an
Yes.
advanced process. You don't have electric rice cookers 15 years back, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Right? So you used to cook the rice manually. Our parents, our grandparents used to prepare the rice manually, correct?
Yeah.
Now the
Correct.
manual preparation is what the traditional way of developing the software is like manual method, right? Let's
Okay.
talk from an
Right.
official perspective now.
Okay.
So Karthik, may I know, let's say you have a Windows 10 laptop. May I
Yeah.
know
I have a Windows 10 laptop.
what is the browser that will be coming inbuilt?
Browser that will be coming in it is the Microsoft Edge.
Edge will come inbuilt. Probably you might even
Yeah.
got Internet Explorer, but Internet Explorer has been decommissioned now. So you get
Yeah. Correct.
Edge browser. But
Yeah.
we habituated to Google Chrome, correct?
Yeah. We habituated to Google Chrome.
Right? May I know what is the process to install Google Chrome browser?
Google Chrome browser means we have to first we have to download the software from our uh, from the browser.
Hmm.
Then after we have to give some permissions to the to installation. Like the software installer, one installer will be there in our laptop inbuilt. Afterwards, we have to
Yes.
give some steps next like that, and we have to
Mhm.
give some download path, and we have to change whatever the theme we have want to be like that. And also
Absolutely. So
we have to give some email ID which we have to sync all the data
mhm. That is
like that.
optional. So let's
Yeah.
talk about how I can get a Google Chrome browser if I have brand new Windows 10 laptop. So I open Edge
Okay.
browser and I should have
Yeah.
internet connectivity, correct? Internet is
Yeah. Correct.
prerequisite. So what I do, I'll type in Edge browser something called install Google Chrome browser. So I'll get a lot of links. I'll be opening the official Google Chrome google.com link where I can get
Oh.
the .exe Google Chrome setup file, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
.exe is what? It's an executable file. So I'll
Yeah.
download that first. Once I download, I have to execute. I have to double click on it to install Google Chrome, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So Karthik, did we ever
Yeah.
thought how come the .exe file has come into picture?
Mm,
No, right?
.txt file. No.
.exe, the Google Chrome setup file. Did we ever thought who has placed it there? What was the effort that has been gone to come up with .exe file? Did we ever thought about it? No, correct.
No. No.
Why? Because being a user, I
Yeah.
should need a Google Chrome browser. I have gone to the Google website and I downloaded, I installed, I'm using it. But we never thought who has prepared it, who has developed it. So the Chrome setup.exe file has been developed by Google developers
Google.
who are working in Google.
Google.
So
Okay.
what is the .exe file? It's a software, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So software is being developed using a programming language. Agree? Let's say
Yeah, I
.NET
agree.
technologies like C Sharp, ASP.NET, or Java, Node.js, Python, any programming language that you take in the market, probably Google developers might have used a programming language to develop the Google Chrome browser. Agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So the developers have developed the source code first, the code that is required for the browser they have developed. And do you think they will be able to give us all the files so that we can use them? For a user, what is needed? A package, correct?
But package.
So the .exe file is a package that we call it as, or we call it as an artifact. So
Artifact.
the source code files by the developers from Google have been compiled and they have made it available into the public domain as in the form of a .exe file. So we are downloading and we are installing it. Correct? So whenever you
Correct.
try to install, your browser will be installed in program files in Windows laptop, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And if you double click on program files, if you get into Google folder, you see multiple files. Did you install, did you copy pasted all those files or those have come with .exe file installation?
Actually, some of I had done copy paste and some of that come with
No, you did not
.txt
copy
files.
pasted anything. Those have been created whenever you executed the .exe file,
Yeah.
correct? Now,
Yeah, correct.
let's say I joined using a laptop now, HP laptop, right? So let's say if I am trying to buy a HP laptop from HP website, are they sending me all the parts like screen separately, camera separately, keyboard separately, motherboard separately, hard disk separately, RAM separately, battery separately? Are they sending it separately and they are asking me to, hey Kranti, you go ahead and compile and you build your laptop?
Not like that. They are giving along
So
with the
while
assembly.
they are manufacturing, they are assembling it and they are calling it as a product, correct? Laptop is
Yeah,
a
correct.
product. AC is a product. Car is a product,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Your desktop is a product. Your refrigerator is a product. Geyser is a product. Chimney is a product. Everything is product. But we are naming it differently, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So what I wanted to conclude here is the .exe file, the executable file to install Google Chrome browser has been developed by the developers of Google. They develop programming related files and they compiled and they are making it available to public like us in a form of .exe file. So there is a lot of struggle that has been gone. There is a lot of effort that they have been put to deliver the .exe file to us. So what is .exe file? The Google Chrome setup. It's a free open source software. Are we paying anything from Google Chrome browser to use it?
No, no, nothing.
No. So there are certain free open source softwares. There are some paid softwares as well. So if you go to Android Play Store or iOS App Store, you have a lot of freely available applications, but there are certain paid applications as well, correct?
Yeah,
So if you
correct.
go with paid applications, you have to pay, you will get most of the features, all the features, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Right? So now what I wanted to correlate here is now we understand rice preparation. There is two methods, two different steps that we have to follow. The output is the same, the plain rice, correct? We can go ahead and eat it,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
And the .exe file, we understood how a software will be developed and released into the market so that public like us, users like us, can go ahead and install, correct? So
Yeah,
now,
correct.
don't you think the Chrome setup.exe file, which a Google developers have developed, even they have followed a process, right, to deliver the software to us,
Yeah, they had followed.
right? This is a process for software development lifecycle as well. So we'll now learn about that software development process today, right?
Okay.
So let's talk about software development lifecycle. The name itself says to develop a
So
software, there is a life cycle, there is a step-by-step procedure that we have to follow, right? We cannot just develop
yeah,
the software, right? If you don't know programming language, if you don't know testing, right, we cannot develop a software, right?
yeah,
So
correct.
if you take a product of HP, I mean, I'm using a HP laptop, don't you think HP engineers have did multiple testing and then only they have given the laptop to me?
Yeah, they will be doing
They might have
they will be
tested,
doing
right?
multiple
They might
testing.
have tested battery, they might have tested motherboard, whether they might have switched on to see everything is working absolutely perfect or not. Only then only they have sent the laptop to me.
Yeah,
Correct. If you
correct.
take car, if you take bike, they do testing, right? They do testing, and if everything seems working, then only they will release into the market.
Yeah,
So
correct.
everything has to be happened absolutely perfect. Even if you wanted to check whether the rice is cooked absolutely perfect or not, what you do, you take a grain of rice and into the hand, and you will crush it, and you will see whether it is cooked absolutely perfect or not. Correct.
Yeah, correct.
So every product that rice you take curry, you'll taste it, the seasoning, right? The salt and spicy levels you check in the curry as well, right? So a lot
Yeah,
of
right.
things that you do, everything is a step-by-step procedure, right? And it
Yeah,
has a
right.
workflow. So to prepare a rice, do you think you will be lightening up the gas stove and you'll be putting the bowl and you then start washing your or cleaning your rice and adding water and you'd be putting the rice into the bowl? You do the other way around?
Mm, in the other way.
I mean, let's say
Mm,
you have to prepare a rice. Do you think
yeah.
you will first lighten up the gas stove and you will put the vessel and you take another vessel and you take 1 cup of rice and you clean it and you add 2 cups of water and then you dump it to the gas stove which was already lightened up?
No, no, not like that. We have
No, right?
to do it in the only one vessel.
Process you have to follow one by one step. You cannot do the second step last and the last step first, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So every process, every software, every product that you go ahead and manufacture or prepare, you have to follow a step-by-step procedure, right? So we'll talk about
Yeah,
software
right.
development lifecycle now. So software development lifecycle is basically a process, a step-by-step process which software development companies will be following. Why they follow the software development lifecycle? To design, develop, and test high quality software. Whenever we get requirement from the customer, we take them, we develop the code, we test it with highest quality and security, then only we'll deploy into the production environment, right? So the
Yeah, right.
SDLC life cycle will aim to deliver a high quality software to the customer as per their customer expectations, and we have to follow the timeline as well. We have to follow the timeline. So for every product that you take in the world, let's say if I am ordering a laptop in Flipkart or Amazon, I would get a delivery date, right? Do you think without a commitment will I be able to buy anything from any vendor like Flipkart? No, I won't. So that's where
Yeah.
whenever you get any software development project from the customer, they will give us a deadline stating that, hey guys, you develop this product in the next 2 months. So we have a timeline as well. So we will be going with two models today. In software development as well, you have different types of steps that involve software development. Like rice preparation, we have gone with manual method and automated method, right? In the software development as well, we have two methods. One is waterfall, one is agile. You have more methods like V model, spiral model, a lot of other models as well that you have. But we'll talk about waterfall and agile model for the day. Let's go with the very first model called waterfall model. The name itself says waterfall. Let's say if I take a cup of water or a glass of water and I'm pouring the water down to the earth, will I be able to bring the water back?
No.
No. Let's say a river flows in a direction, correct? So when water are flowing in a river in a direction, in a downward direction, will I be able to bring the water back? Will I be able to bring the water back,
No.
guys? No, not at all
No. No.
possible, right? So waterfall model is the same thing. Once you implement it, you cannot do any changes. You cannot come back. So let's talk about waterfall model today in detail. So let me open a picture that I have. So I believe you guys are able to see a picture on my screen now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a real-time example so that you will be able to correlate, right? So let's assume our customer is Flipkart, guys. Our customer is Flipkart, and we are all working for a company called TCS. Okay, why? Because we'll be able to connect certain situation. That's where my way of learning things or teaching the things. So may I know in which year Flipkart has been introduced in India? In which year Flipkart has been introduced in India? Any guess? Guess, any guess in which year Flipkart has been introduced in India? Sorry?
2007.
Just in 2007, 8 probably. Correct. Let's assume, let's go back to 2007 or 8 now. So what is Flipkart in 2007 or 8? It might be a startup, correct? So how startups will be starting? Let's say human beings like us will be having an idea, and if you turn the idea into reality, yes, that will become a company, correct? For that, what we need? We need money, we need investment. So Flipkart situation is the same in 2007, 8. So there is an individual who might be having an idea. So I don't want to talk about whether that idea is copied idea or it's a genuine idea. Why? Because Amazon.com, which is an e-commerce website in US, it was existing from so long. So we don't know whether Flipkart has copied the same idea. Why? Because in 2007-8 we don't have any e-commerce websites in India. The internet is booming now, correct? We might be in 2G or 3G that time, correct? Third generation internet, probably we might be using it. So Flipkart, there is an individual who has an idea of building a e-commerce website called Flipkart.com. So, but he's not from programming background. So what he has taken the decision, he might have taken the decision to give the business to a software development company to help them develop the website, Flipkart.com, right? So let's assume in 2007 or 8, TCS has bagged the project of developing Flipkart.com website. Okay. So what is TCS? TCS is a software development company, and Flipkart is becoming now customer or client. So Flipkart has given business to TCS, and they have given a deadline of 60 days to TCS that you take 60 days time and you help me deliver or develop Flipkart.com website. Now, since TCS has been back the project, they have to follow the software development lifecycle stages. So in software development lifecycle, we have 6 to 7 stages, guys. One is planning. Like rice preparation, there is a process, correct? There is step-by-step procedure, right? First, you take 1 cup of rice, then you add 2 cups of water, then you do what you soak for some time, then you put it on the gas stove or electric rice cooker, right? Time by time, you have to maintain the flame, and the rice would be cooked, and you would be tested, and you would be having it for your lunch or dinner. This is a step in rice preparation. In the same way, in order to prepare the software, you have to first plan the things, case. You have to plan the things, right? So in planning phase, what happens? TCS has to work collaboratively with Flipkart, and they have to decide on all of these things. What are all these things? Well and good, TCS has backed the project. Now, how many software developers, how many testers, how much team that TCS has to go ahead and hire to work for Flipkart? Let's assume 23 people. So this include developers, testers, requirement team, design team, deployment team, maintenance team, everybody. And we'll also hire certain additional people as buffer. Why? Because on a given day, do you think 23 people will be going to office on daily basis? No. Why? Because we are humans. We might be having some planned activities where we might have to take leaves, or you might fall sick, or you might have to take certain emergency leave. A lot of things can happen. That's where we hire additional people as part of buffer. Then TCS has to talk about billing. So well and good, we are hiring 23 people who will give the salaries or the billing or invoicing. Obviously, Flipkart has to give the billing to TCS. Then we'll talk about licenses or infrastructure. Obviously, have got the project from Flipkart to TCS. Now we hire developers, we hire testers, we hire the team basically. So for them, they need licenses, right? Let's say Windows 10 licenses, Windows Server licenses, Linux operating system or server licenses. Then you need Visual Studio license. Then you need SQL Server database license. Lot of licenses that you have to take. Why? Because do you think company would be using pirated softwares to develop a product for the customer? Guys, do you think TCS will be using pirated softwares to develop the software for the customer Flipkart or any customer for that matter? Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
So is company using pirated softwares to develop the software for the Flipkart or any other customer?
Of course not.
No, that's where we need to get the licenses from the customer as well. The cost that involves to get product licenses or tools licenses. Then we'll talk about transport. The 23 people has to commute to office, and from office to they have to go back to home. So we have to talk about transport, food, logistics, infrastructure, or payment gateway for Flipkart.com. So everything will be dealt in planning state case. So Flipkart has to agree that they will be paying everything to TCS. Then, once the planning is done, they will talk about requirements gathering. So, TCS has to reach out to Flipkart and they have to gather how the website has to be developed, what should be present at which place. Let's say if I open Flipkart here now, you see in the requirement analysis phase, probably Flipkart will tell I need to get a pop up whenever a user is accessing Flipkart.com for the first time. They should be getting a login page stating that sign up, create a new account, or if they are existing user, they need to go with email ID or mobile and password. They should log in. Once they log in, they should see the banner here in blue color Flipkart logo and a search box, a login button, a card, things and stuff. Then the modules, the top offers or mobiles fashion should be present here, and the ongoing offers and any bank discounts, and what are the offers that they should be seeing in the graphical user interface in the very first page, right? So this is how the requirements will be gathered, and at the end, if you see Flipkart related information, the company related about Flipkart, contact them, career site, customer related information, whether they wanted need help any on payment, shipping, right? Written policies, social media pages, Flipkart address, and the payment gateways information. So TCS has to gather all this information from Flipkart, right? So once we gather the requirements from the customer that this is how the Flipkart website should look like, we would be freezing the stage. We would be freezing the requirement gathering stage. Then the design team will be pitching in and they start designing the website. They will go with how what is the color coding that they have to go with, which color has to be applied where, and how the modules should be presented. Are they in horizontal manner here, or are they in vertical manner here? So they will talk about design of this website, guys. Once the design is done, the development team will pitch in and they start developing the code. They start developing the piece of code. Let's say it may be C Sharp, ASP.NET, Java, Python, Node.js, whatever the programming language. So they develop the requirements would be translating and they would be developing the piece of code. Once the code is developed, your testing team will be pitched in. Testing team will pitch in and they start testing the website to see if they have any bugs. So if they have any bugs, they will report it to the development team again. The development team will rework on the code and they will push the code to the testing team. The testing team will retest it. So once everything is perfect as per the customer expectation, the testing team will tell deployment team that the product is absolutely perfect now. It's time to go ahead and deploy in the production environment. So the deployment team will be deploying the product Flipkart into the production environment. So people like us will be able to access flipkart.com and can log in and can purchase the product or add to the cart, and we can proceed to the payment gateway and we can make the payment and the product would be delivered in the respective time. Then the maintenance team will be coming at last. So once we deploy the product into production, the maintenance team will come and do the maintenance to the website. Like they will maintain the server, they will maintain, they will add machines if in case they see less RAM and less CPU, and they will also take the feedback from the customers and they will start improvising the product case. So these are all the stages that are part of software development lifecycle. So I believe you are able to correlate with the process that I told for rice preparation. And now you might be able to understand how we get projects, what is the role of the software development company, what is the role of the customer or client, and what are the stages that we have, and how we can go ahead and work on each and every stage, right? So let's move forward. Now, what is the timeline that customer has given? 60 days. So we have these many stages, correct? So now we have to assign these days between each and every stage. So 5 days will be taken by planning team, right? And 5 days would be taken by requirement analysis. Design team will take 10 days and development will take more days, 30 days. The piece of code will be developed. Once the code is developed, testing team is taking 5 days to test the product and deployment team is taking 5 more days to deploy the product into the production environment. And later, I'm not concerned about maintenance stage at this moment. Why? Because this is not required at this moment, but maintenance don't have a timeline. They have to monitor and maintain the Flipkart server every day. So this is how the days will be allocated, guys. And how many team members that we have? 23. So in which team, how many team members that we are going and allocating? So for planning, we have 3 members, which we have allocated. For requirement analysis, we have 3 members. For design, we have 5 developers, 6 developers we have assigned to development team, 3 testers, 2 deployment team, 1 maintenance engineer. So this is how your resource allotment will be happened between each and every stage. So this is how we will be delivering the project in the timeline to the customer, guys. This is all about what? The waterfall model that we are following. Now let's talk about disadvantages of waterfall model. Let's talk about disadvantages. Guys, why we are not using feature phone now with the keypad? Why we are going and using smartphones? Why? Because smartphones have a lot of features. You can enable internet, you can browse anything, you can do any kind of work on the phone itself. You want to make any credit card payment, you can do. If you want to order a product in Flipkart or any e-commerce website, you can. If you wanted to buy insurance, yes, you can. Anything that you can do from the mobile. Right? That's where we are not using feature phones with the keypad with small screen. That's where waterfall model is an outdated model. It is being used in the software development industries 2 decades back. Yes, 20 years back, SDLC, I mean, this waterfall model has been used. Now, since the technology has evolved, we are no more using waterfall model. We are using DevOps. We are using DevOps model. So why we have to go ahead and adopt DevOps? Why cannot we adopt waterfall model now? Why? Because there are a lot of loopholes, lot of disadvantages implementing waterfall model in the software development industry. Let's talk about the disadvantages. The very first disadvantage is, so you have development team here, correct? So how developers will start working on the development task is, they need a laptop or desktop. They need the required softwares, right? They need an operating system, they need a server, they need a server database, they need development tools like Visual Studio or Eclipse. They need certain compiler tools, lot of things. May I know who will help the development team to set up all the softwares? Do you think developers will set up the softwares or install on their own from TCS?
No.
Then who will provide the required infrastructure? or softwares for the developers?
Senior members. Okay.
No. Anybody is a working professional in the meeting today who is already an IT employee working on any of the technology?
Not an IT.
Mm-hmm. So
From
even though,
non-IT role GA.
okay. So once you join a company, who has given your laptop by installing the required softwares?
IT support.
IT
HR?
support, yes, you're right. So who will provide the softwares or laptop or desktop to the development team in a software development project? The IT team of
IT.
TCS. IT team, a separate team that would be aligned in TCS who will help the developers to set up the required softwares. So in waterfall model, there is always a communication gap between developers and the IT support of TCS. Why? Because developers need some environment, some software. So the developers have to raise a request with the IT support team of TCS. TCS will see whether they have license, whether they have server availability, right? So they have to look at a lot of things from the infrastructure. At times, the server availability might not be there. They have to procure from the vendor like HP, Lenovo, Toshiba, or Hitachi, Seagate, Western Digital. They have to order the server hardware first. So do you think the server hardware will be delivered by the vendor overnight? They will take their own time, correct? Till that time, developers will be waiting for it. Do you think developers have time, unlimited time? They have just 60 days. So that's where what happens, there is always a gap between the development team and IT support. At times, the IT support team might not be 100% present. They might be on leave. So the developers have to wait until the IT team returns back to office. Or at times, the IT support engineers might be not skilled to install a software. Agree? Do you think all the support engineer, IT support team from a company will be knowing everything?
Yeah.
No, at times. Why? Because they always rely on their senior members, probably. So there is a skill gap over there. There is an unavailability from the IT support engineer, or the hardware might be unavailable. So it's always a huge communication gap, huge delay from the development team and the IT support team in the waterfall model. This is one disadvantage. The other disadvantage is, so we got the project and we are starting the planning stage, correct? So in planning stage, only planning team will be participating with Flipkart. The three people will be taking 5 days to complete the planning activities. Then only the requirement analysis team can pitch in. The three other members from requirement team will be pitching and working for 5 days. Then only the design team is pitching and working for 10 days. Till then, the rest of the teams are sitting idle. They don't have any work. So when planning team is working with customer, every other team, all of these teams should sit idle. They don't have any work. So this is not how we have to go and go with the current situation and current world. Everybody has to be utilized. In DevOps, everybody will be utilized. I'll talk about DevOps later. Then I already told you in the requirement gathering stage, we gather the requirement from Flipkart and we freeze it the stage, correct? Let's assume, let's assume let's assume the initial requirements that we have gathered from the customer are, so initially customer told us to TCS stating that, hey guys, I need all of these modules. I need all of these modules to be developed as part of the site. So one is top offers, groceries, mobiles, fashion, electronics, home, like this. So customer initially told that I need a drop down here in Oman. So whenever you, fashion, whenever you click on this drop down, what will actually show? Let's say I'm going to fashion. You see, in fashion, you might see men, women, kids, a lot of things in the drop down, correct? So customer is Customer has given as a requirement that you guys just create a module called top offers. I don't need a drop down. But now we are in the final stage. We have already consumed 55 days. We have already consumed 55 days from the deadline, and we are supposed to deploy the product now. Now customer is coming at this stage where we have 5 more days only and is stating, guys, I need a requirement change now. Can you please build a drop down here in the top offers? So whenever customer click on the drop down, it should show men 15% discount, women 20% discount, kids 30% discount, laptops 15% discount, let's say refrigerators 20% discount. This is how customer is expecting a drop down in the top offers now. Guys, do you think is it possible at this stage, at the deployment state?
No.
No, it is not at all possible. So we spoke about rice preparation, the plain rice preparation at the initial class, correct? Let's assume Karthik is the one who conversed with me. So do you think I clean the rice, I added 2 cups of water and I soak for 10 minutes. I put it on electric rice cooker and the rice would be prepared in 15 minutes. Let's say I switched on the rice cooker and it is 10 minutes now. In the next 5 minutes, the rice is about to cook. The plain rice would be ready, gonna be ready. Now let's assume my wife has been come into picture and stating, hey, why you are preparing white rice? I expected biryani or pulao to be prepared. Do you think after 10 minutes of the rice might be cooked almost 75% probably? Do you think at this point of time, is it easy for me to prepare pulao?
Got it.
No.
Not yet, it is not possible. Probably it is possible. How? I have to throw the off cooked rice and I have to take raw rice again. I have to wash it. I have to soak it. Then I have to take vegetables. Probably for pulao, I mean, let's say vegetable biryani it is. Let's say I need to go with carrot or beans, potato, a lot of spices, a lot of, let's say, chilies. How to prepare the process for biryani preparation or pulao preparation is something different. I need to add oil or ghee, and it might take a lot of time, right? It is not so easy to prepare biryani in less time. Now, how many days that you have in the deadline? 5 days. Will you be able to prepare everything from the scratch now? So if a requirement is getting changed, the planning team has to be come into picture, the requirement gatherings has to change the requirements, design team has to design the website again, development team has to develop the drop down and they have to add all the options, then the testing team has to test it. Do you think it will be done in 5 days? No. It might extend to 70 days or 75 days. Do you think customer is ready to pay for additional 15 days for all of these people? And will be able to cater to transport, license, food, the billing of 23 resources? Do you think is it allowed? No, customer might not extend. Let's assume in the meantime, what TCS has done, let's say we are in the 55th day today. So what is the date today? 25th. In the next 5 days, let's say by Friday, the project would be ending, correct? Now, TCS has got a new project. Let's say TCS has got a project from, let's say, Apple. This is again a software development project. And TCS has now given a commitment. TCS has given a commitment to Apple stating that we are going to start the project from October 3rd, which is Monday. And who will be the team? The same team, guys. We are allocating the same team to Apple as well. And when we are starting the project, 3rd of November. So do you think if you accept this additional requirement from the customer, will you be able to deliver the project before this new project is going to start? Why? Because the same resources are being utilized here, and we have already given commitment to a new customer called Apple by TCS that they will be starting project on Monday, which is October 3rd. So it is impossible. Why? Because it's customer who made the changes, and that requires additional days for the project delivery to happen. But do you think we can go back to Apple and say that, hey guys, we have already a project that is running, with a deadline, but unfortunately customer has come up with new changes and we have to extend timeline. Can TCS go back to Apple and say that can we delay the project by 15 days? Let's say by 17th of October we'll be starting the project. Do you think Apple will be agreeing for it?
No.
No.
No, not at all. That's where there's the biggest disadvantage. So dependency between development team, IT operation is one disadvantage. Dependency between each and every team is one more, and we cannot encourage customer to come in between any stage and give any changes to the existing requirements or any new changes that we cannot accept in waterfall model. Otherwise, it will impact the timeline. It will take a lot of effort, lot of money, lot of things from the license, transport, food, everything, guys. It is impossible. That's where waterfall model is not being used now. Waterfall model is not being used now. So let's move on to the slides. Before that, I have something called a video. I wanted to open it up and play in front of all of you. So let's watch that video and let me know what exactly you understood out of that video. So let me play from the starting. Let's watch it carefully and let me know what you understood out of this video. I'm playing it. Yeah, can somebody tell me what is happening?
Server is not responding.
He is facing an issue.
I'm trying to access, let's say, kids tables. When I click on it, it is saying something went wrong, which is there is something broken, correct? Let's say if I'm accessing something here, let's say TVs, or let's say iron boxes here. Let's say if I click on this iron boxes, mixes should be shown up. Yes, it is working absolutely perfect. But the tables are not getting displayed, which is some bug, okay, which a testing team might have found out, and the testing team has to send it to the development team. I believe now you might have understood what is the role of a testing engineer here,
Yes, yes.
right? So this is what about waterfall model, guys. So let me take you guys to the other approach. So let me do a quick recap as to what we've discussed. So we discussed about waterfall model, the stages, requirement gathering, still maintenance, correct? We understand the disadvantages of waterfall model, so I don't want to go with this again. And we understand the delay, correct? And we are going to implement agile model, guys. In the DevOps methodology, we are going to implement agile. What is agile? Agile is a very dynamic process. So where if you go ahead and implement agile process for your project, you need to be very flexible. You need to go back to the customer, or customer can come back to us and give us changes at any point of time, right? So in agile model, the flexibility is everybody will work in a smart short-term goals. So the requirement is a big requirement that we might get from the customer. They will be splitting into different small subset of requirements or work items, and each work item is being defined as part of a short-term goal. So if you have a delivery that should be delivered in next 2 months, so we'll split the requirements into multiple work items, and each work item would be developed by the developers, and they have a time that we would be going and giving them. So agile development model is basically an incremental model, right? So this will be used in software development for incremental and rapid cycles. Rapid is short term, short cycles which will be deciding to deliver the project faster, right? So this is a very small incremental release, very short term goal, with each release built on previous functionality. So whatever that we might have delivered, we will be probably coming up and doing certain changes based on the customer requirements, and we'll be releasing it to the market. Obviously, each release is thoroughly tested by the testing engineer to ensure that the high quality of the software is maintained. So ultimately, agile software development emphasis on iterative, incremental, and there's an evolutionary development nowadays in the market. So every customer wanted us to go ahead and implement agile methodology in the software development project. So best example is Flipkart.com or any e-commerce website or any social networking site that you take is following agile methodology, guys. So let's say I install WhatsApp today in my Android mobile. After a week or two, I'll get an update from WhatsApp that I have to update WhatsApp, correct? Why?
They will fix some
There
bugs.
might be any changes.
They might
Yes,
find
they will
changes
fix
and
some bugs or they will release some patches or security updates, or they will also release new features. So for why WhatsApp has to release new features to customers like us? Why? Because competition. For WhatsApp, there is a huge competition from outside, probably Telegram or WeChat. There are certain chat applications that we have available, correct? So every company will think that they should be unique in the market. So if they work and take customer feedback and come up with new features, everybody from us customers will be agreeing to it and accepting it. If you take Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter, any website, Facebook, you take any website in the market from the social networking or from e-commerce, you might not be seeing the same website graphical interface tomorrow probably. The graphical user interface will keep on changing. Why? Because it will attract the customers to go ahead and purchase something. So Flipkart is a very good example for agile. Now delay we have seen, in spite of the waterfall model we implemented, we still see a delay. Why? Because there is a delay between development and the IT operations team. So in order to avoid, we'll be getting into DevOps. DevOps is what? It's all about development plus operations. That's where we're calling it as DevOps. So in DevOps team, what happens? You have the infrastructure team sitting in front of you only, in front of the developer. So if developer needs some infrastructure, let's say a virtual machine or an instance, AWS instance, or they need storage, or they need a database or server, your IT operations team would be able to set up so quickly within no time. This is an on-demand service. So what is the role of an IT operations team in the DevOps project? So they will install server hardware and operating system that is required for the development team to start developing the work. They'll also configure the servers, network, storage equipment. They will monitor the servers. They will take care of the outage of the servers if a server is getting crashed or failed. They'll also take care of IT security. So every product that you take, if you compromise on the quality and security, it's like you're compromising on the hackers basically. So you're giving flexibility to hackers or to get any malicious attacks to your servers or any ransomware attacks. That's where the IT team plays a crucial role in maintaining the IT security of the product as well. So whenever I'm talking about a product, it may be a website, it may be a software as well, guys. So they will also take care of the change control activities. They will take care of backup and disaster recovery of the website or the product. They'll also involving in maintaining the production support. Whenever you deploy the product into production, if customers like us can report to Flipkart stating that this is not working, or I made the payment and the payment did not went well, so I can reach out to the support, correct? So these guys will also provide certain production support as well. Now let's talk about DevOps and its importance. So DevOps is a combination of development and operations team, guys. It's not just development operations. It's all about testing team, scrum master, let's say project manager, cloud DevOps lead, or your incident problem change management team. It's all about the release and deployment team. It's all about AWS admin team. Lot of teams will collaborate and coordinate on daily basis. They work very closely. They do the parallel jobs. They run the show simultaneously. So in DevOps, nobody will be sitting free like in waterfall model. So everybody will contribute towards the project deadline. So what they do, they'll promote collaboration between development and IT operations, right? And they deploy the code faster in an automated way. So in DevOps, we'll use a lot of modern tools, guys. Modern tools which having a lot of features, which we can automate a lot of things. So without any human intervention, we can actually deliver the product to the customer within the deadline. So DevOps brings the people, process, technology together to automate the software delivery to the customer within the deadline and without compromising on the quality and the security of the software. That's where DevOps is having a lot of demand nowadays. So let me go with an example. So far, what we discussed, let me take a snippet again so that we can discuss further. So let me take the snippet of the flipkart.com again. So the requirement is customer is asking us to develop top offers, groceries, mobile, and all of these modules, correct? So in DevOps, what happens, let's assume we have 3 developers as part of the project in TCS. Let's say one of the developer will work on top offers. The second developer will work on groceries module. Third developer would work on mobiles module. Let's assume developer 1 has developer top offers. They will be going and picking up fashion module, developer 1. Meanwhile, you might have 2 testers in the team. The tester 1 will come and they start testing top offers module. Meanwhile, developer 2 completed and they move to electronics module. So the tester 2 will be coming up here. So meanwhile, tester 1 has completed their job and they might have moved to D3. So developer 3 might have already completed this and they have picked up this task, home module. Let's say here you have release and deployment team. You have R&D, release and deployment team will be coming in and they will be deploying this top offers into the production. Meanwhile, tester 2 is done and they will be moving on to here. Your release and deployment team will come here and they deploy this groceries module into the production. So meanwhile, tester 1 has finished it off and release and deployment team will come here and they deploy mobile module into the production. So this is how developer, tester, release and deployment team. Once the release and deployment team is done releasing the product into production, your maintenance team will come. Maintenance team will come. So let's go back to the picture. Now what is happening? Development team is working simultaneously, testing team is working, deployment team is working, maintenance team. So in DevOps, what is happening? At the same time, every individual team is working parallelly. So whenever you are working parallelly, what happens? Instead of delivering the project in 60 days, probably we can deliver the project in 45 days as well. This is what DevOps can go ahead and do it. So we always do continuous integration, continuous delivery. And if customer is coming in between and asking for any changes, we can also go ahead and accept them in DevOps. That's the beauty and advantage of DevOps comparative to the traditional way of developing the software, guys. Let's move further. Now, let's move on to the course content, guys. So this is what the DevOps lifecycle is. So first we plan the things, then we build our code with the developers, then the development team will be coming up here in coding, then the DevOps engineering team will be coming at the build stage, right? So we'll be using CI/CD pipelines, we might use Jenkins, Maven, certain tools, and then we'll be testing the things. The testing engineer will be testing it and they will be releasing it to the production, right, using Docker, Kubernetes, or AWS environment. And the maintenance and monitoring team would be using some tools called Nagios to monitor the product in the production, and they will capture the feedback from the customer. And again, they plan the things, the code, the build, the test. So this is always in a loop, guys. So we'll use multiple tools. We'll use Git, GitHub. We will use Maven. We'll use CI/CD pipelines. Then we will use uh, for build and release. We'll use Docker, Kubernetes, or EC2 machines, right? Then we'll use monitoring tools like Nagios, right? We'll use a lot of tools in each and every stage, and we will deliver the project continuously to the customer, right? So as part of the course content, we will cover Linux. So Linux is basically the prerequisite for DevOps. So without Linux, there is no DevOps case. That's where we have to learn Linux operating system, Linux commands. So if you are not familiar with the operating system of Linux, you should not have to worry. I'm here to teach you from the scratch. So we'll cover Git, Maven, Jenkins, which is a build and release tool, then Docker, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Ansible for configuration management, Nagios for monitoring. So these are all the tools that we are going to learn as part of the course. So let me take you to the detailed course content, guys. Let me present the detailed course content. So the course duration would be lasting from 40 to 45 days. At times it might extend to 50 days as well. Why? Because while we were doing the projects or while we were doing the practicals, we might get into certain technical issues as well due to environment unavailability things and stuff. So I'm going with the buffer of 5 days over there. So it may take 40 to 45, or it can extend to 50 days as well. So what is the very first thing that we'll be going and doing? We'll be setting up our environment required for the DevOps, right? So we will create an AWS account. So AWS account will be coming free of cost. We just need to have a debit card or credit card. So we have to just use a debit or credit card to authorize the payment. So some 2 rupees would be deducted as part of authentication process, and those 2 rupees would be credited back as well. So basically you will be learning DevOps on AWS free of cost. There are certain limitations which we'll be talking about while we are starting the projects. So we'll understand some basics as to what is cloud computing, what is AWS, what are the basic cloud computing concept that we have. Then we will be trying to create EC2 machines, which are virtual machines. Then we'll understand the Linux. We'll look into a lot of commands. We'll talk about user management, package management, service management, disk management, or network management. Or we'll create multiple files, we manage them, we'll create directories, we'll manage them. A lot of things that will be covered from the Linux perspective, guys. Then we'll be moving on to our very first tool from DevOps, which is Git. So Git is a version controlling tool. So Git will be used by the developers, guys. So we learn Git from developers perspective. So for DevOps engineers, for we, there are only certain tools, but we'll have to learn everything, every life cycle of the DevOps. So we'll be learning Git from the developer perspective. So Git is a version controlling tool, right? So we'll have a lot of commands with Git as to how we can make it as a working directory, how you can add it to staging, local repository, then how you will be moving into the GitHub, which is a remote repository, the code. We'll be looking into everything. We'll also talk about the branching concepts, right? Then we'll be moving on to Jenkins. So here our DevOps role will begin. So being a DevOps engineer, Jenkins is the prerequisite tool for DevOps. So this is basically mandatory. So we'll use this to perform CI/CD operations, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So here we'll be delivering the project, correct, with the help of developers, with the help of testers, with the help of Scrum Master, a lot of other teams. So we'll learn about what is a job, what is a build, what is a source code management. We'll talk about freestyle pipelines. We'll talk about pipeline projects. We'll talk about multi-branch pipeline projects. A lot of things. Then we'll move on to the most happening technologies in the market, Docker and Kubernetes, right? So this is a containerization technology, and the Kubernetes is an orchestration tool. So these have a lot of importance nowadays in the market. So we'll be using Docker and Kubernetes, and we'll be deploying our product on Docker and Kubernetes as well, right? Then we'll be going to one of the tool called configuration management tool, which is Ansible. So here we'll be deciding what is the infrastructure that is required for us, right? What is the server that we require? What is the database that we require? So we'll be using Ansible to do configurations. Then we'll be going with a monitoring tool called Nagios, basically. I think this is an outdated content. So we'll be going and looking at Nagios, which is a third-party monitoring tool. So we will basically create multiple servers, and we'll set up in the Nagios server to see how we can monitor multiple servers using the graphical user interface to check the consumption of the RAM, to check the consumption of the CPU, to check the network and data disk, yeah, I mean read rate capacity, whether the server is down or whether it's up and running. A lot of the things that we would be looking from monitoring capabilities, right? So these are all the things that we'll be doing. At last, we'll be going and looking at Terraform. So Terraform is again a mandatory if you learn DevOps. Terraform is from a infrastructure as a code. So we'll be using code to deploy the infrastructure. We'll be using the code. The code is HCL code, HashiCorp language. We are going to use it. That will follow a programming language called Golang. It will be developed based on Golang. This is a programming language or scripting. So we'll be using infrastructure as a code to deploy a lot of services from AWS like EC2 machines, load balancer, virtual private cloud, or remote, I mean your relational database, IAM, identity and access management, Elastic Beanstalk, storage buckets, CloudWatch, a lot of things that would be deploying this. So this is what all about the content that we have for DevOps on AWS. So that's all from the demo perspective, guys. So the training would be purely based on uh, the concepts from theory and the day-to-day examples which I just covered in the demo session. I believe I used a lot of day-to-day examples, right? So with this, you might be able to correlate and able to understand the concept very easily. And I would be starting from a layman language. So if you don't know anything from the course content, it's not a problem. Why? Because I'll be dealing with everything from the scratch. So you should not have to worry about anything else. So just concentrate on daily basis and practice is needed. Why? Because if anybody is learning the course or enrolling for the course, definitely the hard work and efforts have to be put in. Dedication and determination should be there. Why? Because you're learning a booming technology. You have a lot of openings in the market. Just that you have to make some time and practice a lot, right? And if you are already an IT professional who is having experience in IT, yes, you have to practice a lot. Why? Because you cannot get a job as a fresher. So you definitely have to project some experience that you are already working on AWS DevOps. So why after completing this course, I can give you an assurance that you can at least put 2 to 4 years of experience on AWS DevOps and you can project and you can get a job, guys. So that is what the extent that I'll be going with. A lot of real-time examples, a lot of practicals, interview questions, a lot of things from corporate etiquities would be covered as part of the course. So we are going to start the batch probably in a week. Why? Because we have the holiday season coming in due to Dasara. So the timings would be morning 7 a.m. IST to 8 a.m. The timing is fixed, but probably our coordinator would be coming back to us if you are interested to enroll for the course. Our coordinator would be letting you guys know as to when exactly the course is gonna start. But the timings would be Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. IST to 8 a.m. IST. At times we might take on Saturdays as well, and the course duration would go from 40 to 50 days if I have to say. So this is all about the demo and the timing, the duration, guys. Any questions now? I'm open to take up any questions that you guys have. Any questions?
Is it necessary to put a 2 to 4 years experience?
I know your use case. I mean, how many years of experience you have now?
Actually, I passed it in 2020.
Okay. So you're not doing any job now?
Actually, I'm doing a job on IT. It's a GIS.
Okay, GIS maps you meant to say.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, you can show that you might be currently working on DevOps on AWS. Probably your designation might not support, But what you can do is, since you might be having 2 years of experience now, you learn this and you project that you are currently a GIS engineer, but you wanted to go with a technology switch. That's where you learn DevOps with AWS and you are looking for a DevOps engineering role. So you have multiple openings in the market.
Okay.
After this course, are you? Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
After this course, are you provide any job offers?
I think, our coordinator should be able to answer. Vijaya, Lakshmi, are you on the call? Will you be able to answer from the placement perspective?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, this is Dharmateja. And
Yeah,
the content you will share on Kubernetes, is that enough to do a certification on Kubernetes?
no, we don't deep dive into Kubernetes. Kubernetes itself is a different course altogether. So we'll be
Yes.
learning Docker and Kubernetes from the perspective of DevOps.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. What are the prerequisites to learn this DevOps course?
There is no prerequisite, right? Even a fresher, even a individual from non-technical as well can go ahead and attend. As I already told you, I'll be teaching everything from scratch. So you don't even feel uncomfortable that I don't know anything. Why? Because we are starting everything from scratch. So just that you come up with dedication, determination, and you have to put effort and hard work for sure, right? So if you don't put them, I can say it is a waste of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So from the placement perspective, probably our coordinator would be able to answer. I believe they were away at this moment. They earlier used to provide, but that's altogether you might have to discuss with them. Any other questions?
What is the fee structure regarding this?
Our coordinator would help you, Karthik. I'm
Okay.
not the right person to go with it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I think this is the right time to ask. Why? Because it's altogether a new technology. So you might have joined this session by hoping something, right? So or you might have a lot of questions. So this is the right time to go ahead and clarify. Any final questions before we go ahead and call out for a day?
This DevOps we have to perform as a developer and the deployment tools and all these
So
things.
being a
No.
DevOps engineer, our role would be basically on CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration and continuous delivery. But that tool is depend on a lot of other things where we have to coordinate and collaborate with developer, tester, the project manager of the development team, or you might have to sync up with Scrum Master, the infrastructure team, probably the ITIL team, incident management, problem change management, monitoring and maintenance team. A lot of teams that we have to collaborate, though we might just use one tool. So it is very good to learn the rest of the tools from a different perspective. Let's say if you're learning Git, GitHub, and Maven, probably we have to learn from development perspective, developer perspective. Let's say if you're learning any kind of testing tools, you have to be a tester. You have to be, if you have to assume that you're a tester and you have to learn it. So a lot of things. Scrum Master plays a different role. So you need to understand what are the roles that a Scrum Master will play in a project, in a DevOps project. So no need to bother. I'll be bringing in each and every role as part of the DevOps project and we'll be going with. Any final questions that I can go ahead and take it up?
Nothing from my hand.
Yeah, thanks, Dharma. Yeah, thanks, guys. I hope you liked the session. So, I mean, I concentrated on day-to-day examples. So this is how our classes would be going forward, so that people like freshers and non-technical people, or even for IT people from different technology background, it will make their job easy to learn the concepts easily. Correct? That's where I take about a lot of day-to-day examples on daily basis, so that you can correlate and learn DevOps. Thank you, and really appreciate your time on Sunday. So I'll be taking your time back now. Thank you all. Have a nice day. I hope you guys have liked the session. If in case you wanted to enroll, you can reach out to our institute or the coordinator. Thank you all. Have a great day and happy weekend. Take care.